Brow mapping can be a struggle for any new microblading artist. Working with the natural bone structure and asymmetry of a client is very challenging. In this video, I'm going to show you how to properly set up and perfect your pre-draw. My name is Christy and I'm the owner of Boss Brows. This channel is all about sharing tips and tricks of the trade and my business experience. Before the client comes in, I'm going to have my tray set up and my tools sharpened. You want to make sure there's no makeup or oils on the face so that your pencil will just glide on. The first thing you want to do is measure the natural asymmetry of the client. So in this case, we're going to find point 0. Point 0 is the line that splits the face in half. You want to make sure that you're finding the line that splits the entire face in half, not just this area. So you can use a caliper and measure from the top of the head to the chin, or you can use brow mapping string, whichever is easiest for you. If you're using brow mapping string, make sure to hold the string taut. Close your eyes. Now you want to find your points A, B, and C. A is where the brow starts, B is the arch, and C is the tail. I'm going to measure from her nose up through her brow, and I want to make sure to include all of her eye. And I'm going to do the same thing on both sides. And if you want to check your work there, you can measure the distance between point 0 and A. To find point B, you're going to measure from the outside of their nose through their eye and bring it up, close your eyes, and lay it flat against their brow bone and draw a line. Have your client look directly at you. Another way you can find the arch is have them again look directly at you, and this time, instead of measuring from their nose, you can measure from the outside of their eye and lay your tool flat against the brow. I do like measuring it that way because then you have a vertical line, which makes it easier to check the measurements between point A and point B. Now we're going to find point C. So I'm going to again measure from her nose, close your eye, and include her entire eye, and then lay the tool flat against their head and draw your line. Now that you have points A, B, and C, you can do the same thing on the left brow. How you can do that is you can measure and lay it flat over here, or you can just measure the same way using your caliper. Once you have all your vertical points, always double check your work. Now that you have all your lines, just make sure to clean everything up. Now to find the width of their brow, you're going to use brow mapping string. It's a lot easier because this will actually fold to the face where a caliper is straight. I'm going to find point 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the brow mapping string right at the bottom of her brow bone. Close your eyes and chin up just a little. You want to make sure to include all of their natural hair and hold this taut and just swipe it through. You don't want to go like this because it will create a really blurry line. You just want to hold it taut and do one swipe. Now I always work with the natural brows that my client walks in with. So she has some great brows already. We're just filling them in. So that means I'm going to work with the natural width or thickness of her brows. So to find point 2, I'm going to move up from point 1 and create another horizontal line. Now you'll have your point 1 and point 2. This is the width of the brow. Now to find your point 3, give yourself a little more slack with the brow mapping string. You're gonna hold at the temple and find where the hair stops growing at the arch. So that's right about here. I'm going to pull it through. And then you have your point 3. To find your point 4, chin up for me on this one, lay your string down right where the hair stops growing. This is going to create the width between point 3 and 4, which is where the arch is at. Remembering that the body of our brow should always be parallel lines. So the distance between point 3 and 4 shouldn't be thicker than the distance between point 1 and 2. Okay, so you're just going to pull it through and create that line, and that's going to be your lower arch. Now we want to find our tail. So you're going to take it from point 3 and find the direction of the tail. I like to work with her natural hair. making sure that the arch is never gonna dip below the beginning of the brow. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. And then you can get rid of all of those other lines that you don't need, because that is just going to be very busy to your eye. And then at this point, I'm gonna lay my client down and fill in the rest. Now that I have my client laying down, I can start to see the shape that we've drawn in for her, and I want to connect all of my points. So I'm going to connect point 1 to 4, 2 to 3, 3 to 5, and 4 to 5. And you also want to soften the edges when you connect them. Hold the skin taut against the flattest part of their face and just glide your pencil a little bit at a time, following those lines that you've created for yourself. You want to make sure your lines are super clean, because this is going to be your template for your microblading. And if you want them to look as symmetrical as possible, you need to make clean lines. Right now, I can start to see my shape, but my lines are nowhere close to clean. All I have to do is grab an alcohol wipe and a precise Q-tip. Soak it with the alcohol just by twisting it. Hold their skin taut and just swipe any of that unwanted brow pencil, and this will just clean up your lines. You want them thick enough so you can see, dark enough so you can see, but you don't want them too thick. As you're brow mapping, you can always look at the other brow to make sure your shape is matching up. But again, you will definitely want to sit her up when you have the shape all laid out so that you can see how symmetrical they are. Yeah. And make sure your client has approved it twice before moving on to microblading. You're gonna draw in all of your points.